The subject is walking a tightrope here. Is she not concerned, or is she concerned? If she's not concerned, how could you be not concerned if 4 people were murdered in that same house you were in? And how could you be not concerned if you're hearing things and your roommate is saying they saw someone? If you're concerned, why didn't you call 911? This is a tightrope. Would you, if you heard noises in another room, which sounded like someone may have fallen into a table, and you saw sparks or sparkles underneath your door, and it was at around 4 a.m., and you were concerned enough to call them all, but none of them answered, would that encourage you to simply think they just went to bed? Because that's what the subject is saying. Okay, what happened after that? Great question here by the sergeant. And look at this statement. It's a beautiful thing what a powerful question can do. And Dylan called me. She said she thinks she saw someone. And I didn't know like really what to think of it. Because sometimes we think we hear things a lot in the house. But it's usually just Ethan walking around. But she came, I told her to come to my room and she could sleep with me and we could lock the door and just stay in there just in case if there was anything. And that's all I know. I fell back asleep. There's a lot there. Okay. And Dylan called me. This is potentially very problematic for what we were talking about earlier. The subject had just communicated that no one was answering. Prior to this, and because the sergeant asked, what happened after that? We get all this information. What happens if the sergeant didn't ask this? Because all we knew is no one was answering, right? And then the sergeant asked, what happened after that? And now we're being told, oh, I got a call from my roommate. That's not good. Not a good sign. Who was no one? Okay. It appears that no one were the victims. Just to kind of go back here, no one was answering. Okay. Who's no one? The victims. That's what appears. She said she thinks she saw someone. This is caveated with she thinks. And she saw someone, which is passive, not specific. Not an intruder, not a man with a weapon, not a bad guy in our house. Simply someone. Where? Where did she see this person? Where was this person? The subject can't explain that. Was this someone outside? Inside? We don't know. Earlier, the subject said she thought everyone went to bed. Now we're being confronted with the fact that Dylan called her and also that Dylan saw someone. Going back to the concerned versus not concerned, the subject has even more of a problem. Okay, even more of a problem now that Dylan is saying she saw someone. I guess I jumped the gun here when I said that before. Oops. So this passive language makes sense, in a sense. It makes sense in a sense because she can't say Dylan saw a scary guy with a gun. Okay, because now the question is okay, you had all these indications that something bad was going on and you did nothing. So in a sense, it makes sense that she's using passive language here. She's being very deceptive and she knows exactly what she's doing. She's being very particular. She is walking that tightrope. There's a need to explain that this is non-threatening as possible, right? There's a need to explain this as non-threatening as possible. I didn't know like really what to think of it. The sergeant is being confronted with the fact that the subject was alarmed enough to call all of her roommates because she heard a sound and saw like a firework. And now Dylan is saying she saw someone. And and if we are interpreting, which we should not do. Dylan is scared enough to go down and sleep with the subject. The subject then explains why she didn't know, like, really what to think of it. So she preempts a question. Why did you not think much of it? She explains, because sometimes we think we hear things a lot in this house. Sometimes is passive.